And you know what? It's a fun game. It's great from a social perspective. But, there are things that happen on a golf course. And I think in this episode, we're going to explain that the golf warning 4 can certainly take on a different meaning when a golf ball escapes from a golf course.
Hello and welcome to the next episode of Beneath the Law. My name's Gavin Ty. I'm with my partner and friend Stephen Teal.
Hello,
And
Gavin. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Thanks very much. But if you've seen my golf game, you know that I am no golfer.
I have not seen your golf game. I have my own golf game, and I'm not much of a golfer either.
Yeah, I play golf maybe once a year, whether I like it or not, and generally it's not. So hats off to all of those golfers out there. But today's episode will, I think, be some indication that there's probably a lot more golfers of my skill level than they care to admit. Because we're going to talk about the, I'm not going to say accidental. In my case, it's not accidental when the golf ball goes out of bounds. It's pretty much guaranteed. So I take it there's a number of others who hit the links with similar skill levels.
A lot of us have those kinds of skill levels. Look, let's face it, being a very good golfer takes a lot of practice. It's a game that is outside and that a lot of people have picked up because of Tiger Woods, and his popularity. And you know what? It's a fun game. It's great from a social perspective. But, there are things that happen on a golf course. And I think in this episode, we're going to explain that the golf warning 4 can certainly take on a different meaning when a golf ball escapes from a golf course.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cases over the years that have dealt with errant sports shots. I mean, I recall a number of Lord Denning decisions. Lord Denning, for the non-lawyers who listen, was a very famous British jurist who wrote some of the most important decisions in jurisprudence known to man. But he was very fond of his cricket cases and spoke very fondly of the great game of cricket, which, of course, as with golf, deals with somebody hitting a very hard ball and not necessarily where they wanted it to go. Although in Lord Denning's cases, it was always because the Babe Ruth of cricket happened to drill the thing out of the cricket pitch into the neighboring houses. But he was fond of giving the cricketers the run of it. That not so with golfers, who also shoot very hard projectiles traveling very quickly that can cause a lot of damage.
Yeah, and, remarkably, I actually saw it happen. One of our colleagues actually hit a golf ball on a course that hit a tree and ricocheted into the neighbor's window, into a neighboring landowner's window. So, that was completely inadvertent. Our colleague is actually a good golfer, but you're right. There are a lot of cases where neighboring landowners are impacted by a golf course. And it's great to live against a golf course or to be an adjacent property owner to a golf course, because you've got basically a 120-acre, 140-acre park right behind your property. But there are risks involved with every stroke that somebody is going to take along a hole where your property abuts or is adjacent to.
Right. First of all, let me just say that I don't want to make light of the quite serious damage that golf balls can inflict. In fact, we're not going to talk about this particularly, but I know of a number of personal injury cases where people have been very seriously injured by being hit by a golf ball, particularly if it hits them in the head. So those are not to be those are nothing to make light of. On the other hand, I have an uncle who lives in Florida who happens to back onto a golf course. He's an avid golfer, and he told me that he hasn't bought a golf ball in 20 years. He just goes in the backyard and picks up a dozen every morning.
Oh,
So,
you can pick up hundreds of them over the course of a season if you're sitting there. Because look, I mean, in the United States, certainly they build a lot of houses around golf courses. I mean, they're planned communities for that specific purpose. They're retirement communities, right? Live on a golf course, and we're
exactly.
seeing that now a lot more. Certainly here in Ontario.
And look, there's no question that living in a home backing onto a golf course or any green space is a real luxury. And certainly our properties that are sought out and people look to live on golf courses, which raises the issue. Okay, wait a minute. You bought a house on a golf course and golf balls are in your backyard. Big surprise. Is that a defense if the homeowner takes umbrage with the amount of golf balls that are entering their property?
Well, it can be. It also cannot be. So, we talk about this because of a recent case that actually came out of Nova Scotia, where a landowner had a number of golf balls land in their yard, and some of them hit the house, creating cracks to the siding. One of the golf balls hit the homeowner's truck, creating a huge dent in the truck that required repair. And the homeowner brought a claim against the golf course. And the golf course basically tried to defend the claim on various arguments. One being that, you do kind of assume the risk of living near a golf course. Now, in this case in Nova Scotia, a little bit different. The golf course didn't exist when the property owner actually bought their property. So it was built afterward. Although there may have been knowledge of a development or future development of a golf course taking place, the golf course had not been constructed at the time or designed. The neighbor's backyard was basically a forest, but now all of a sudden there you have a golf course. But golf courses are designed keeping in mind bad golfers or amateur golfers who hit errant golf shots. And those designers really spend time to make sure or minimize the risk of golf balls leaving the, let's call it the field of play, to not go onto an adjacent property. In this case, the golf course was found liable, notwithstanding the arguments that they made. But you're right, in other cases, and, there are a lot of cases like this out there, where people actually build the home around an existing golf course.
Well, that happened. And I think that that's important because it's not the distinction, if I can quote Lord Denning, it's not the distinction of he who comes to the nuisance. It doesn't matter. In the case that I'm thinking of, I think it was the Islington golf course here in Toronto, and a homeowner bought a piece of property and built a new home on it, adjacent to the golf course. Golf course was there first, and lo and behold, I think they were getting pummeled with golf balls, and they successfully sued the golf course with respect to the golf balls entering their property, even though they built the house after the golf course was there. And as I recall, and I may be incorrect in this, maybe you can correct me, but the golf course had to redesign the hole to accommodate the newly built house.
Well, and not only that, in that case, and I know that case very well. I actually don't live very far away from the Islington golf course, so I'm aware of its design, and I'm aware of the community that surrounds it, and the street that this particular house was built on. And And the golf course at the time, and Islington Golf Course is a private golf course. It's not a public golf course. So one would expect that at a private golf course you have better skilled golfers. And that's because they have golf pros to, give lessons to people. But, a lot of people can't control their golf shots. I mean, let's face it. Golf can be a very frustrating game for those who play it. And there's always one good shot that says, hey, you know what? I am the Babe Ruth of golf, so to speak, and I can continue to play on.
I haven't found that shot yet, Steve.
Well, you have to golf more.
Maybe it's out there.
One game a year is not going to do it for you, Gavin. But so the golf course was actually in consultation with the homeowner prior to the home being built. And, they certainly kept in mind the design. But as you said, the property was getting pummeled, or there were a barrage of golf balls hit from the third hole of the Islington golf course that landed onto their property, hit their house, broke windows. I think the homeowner gave evidence in that case that they were even afraid to go outside, to get their mail, right? They'd have to check to make sure that some errant shot was not coming in, hitting them in the head while they were trying to get their mail from the mailbox.
Put your hockey equipment on in order to go out and collect your garbage can.
Put some armor on, right? But in that case, yes, the court awarded damages. And really, look, and maybe we should back this up a little bit. There are various claims that a homeowner or adjacent homeowner can bring. One is negligence in the design of the course, or arguably negligence against the golfer if you can find out who hit the errant shot. Nuisance, basically, which is the interference of the enjoyment of use of a property. Trespass, right? An unwanted somebody coming onto your property, right? Nobody wants errant golf balls landing on their property,
except for my uncle who's looking for them.
Okay, well, for sure. Well, I look for them too. And maybe that makes my golf game bad. Maybe I should buy new ones rather than using used ones. But and then there's that legal doctrine, and we won't bore people with it, but it's called Rylands and Fletcher, and basically it's a stricter kind of liability, and I'll enough said about that. But so in the Islington golf course case, you had hundreds of golf balls landing on this person's property. And, similar to the Nova Scotia case, there were a lot of golf balls, and the golf course received a lot of complaints from various neighboring properties. They tried to redesign the course and tried to use that argument that it was redesigned to professional standards, but the problem continued. And very similar in terms of the Islington golf course, they designed their hole, hopefully not to have people hit golf balls onto the neighboring land, but the court awarded an injunction, and an injunction is not a easy remedy to necessarily get.
It shouldn't be an easy remedy to get. An injunction, is an order of the court that prevents something from occurring, that stops an activity. In this particular instance, in regards to the golf course, an activity that had been carried on at that golf course by that time for, decades, and getting an injunction to stop that activity is pretty serious business, and it should be serious business. But our injunctions aren't easy to get. Are there other cases where people have tried to get injunctions against golf courses and failed?
Yes, and that really, when we get into beneath the law here, is really about a comparison between the number of golf balls that are hit onto the adjacent landowner's property, some assumption of risk as well, whether the homeowner says, yeah, I bought the property knowing that golf balls would come here, and I just wanted to move into the neighborhood. But where you have a situation where you only have a golf ball or an errant shot onto your property on a limited number of occasions, you're going to face, as a adjacent property owner, a much more higher burden of proof to get that injunction.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a sec. To get an injunction, we'll talk in a really general way of the court, and the golf courses is one element of it. There are many, many injunctions granted and sought. But the injunction, basically, you have to show three things. You have to show the court, number one, there's a serious issue to be tried. In other words, that there's meat on the bones in this case, that there is a real claim here, and that this is something that the court's going to deal with. That's not a hard threshold to meet, and almost every case will meet that. The second aspect of it, or the second and third, are more difficult. The second aspect of it is that there's irreparable harm if the injunction is not granted. And irreparable harm, it means what it says. It means harm that can't be fixed. Cases, for example, that can be fixed with a check aren't irreparable. If damages will do, you're not going to get an injunction. So that irreparable harm is a very difficult threshold to demonstrate on an injunction, and it is one the courts will review. And then the third aspect of it is, I think, tying into what you mentioned a moment ago, which is the balance of convenience. There must be, the injunction being granted must weigh in favor of the party seeking it than the party not seeking it. In other words, the harm that's being done must be more serious than the harm that will be done by granting the injunction if it is granted. So in this particular case, I think there was a case out of Wasaga Beach that we were talking about. I don't think that the shutting the hole down in the golf course was seen as being more serious than the harm to the property owner with respect to the odd golf ball that was flying their way.
Correct, and it's a weighing exercise, right? So the court is attempting to draw a balance. So you allude to the Wasaga Beach case, where again a number of golf balls were hit off the course, off a particular hole, flying all over the place, and complaints being made to the golf course. And the golf course redesigned the hole and planted trees. In Islington's case, they put up some netting, but the netting didn't really... the netting in itself was considered to be a nuisance because of the manner and the placement of the netting. And the court was actually not happy with the way that the Islington Golf Club reacted to the dispute, and basically had to modify an injunction first given against Islington Golf Course to modify their course. And in the Wasaga Beach case, the court makes a very interesting statement, and it's been a statement that's made in other golf cases. Golf is a game of 18 holes. Golf is not a game of 17 holes. And an adjacent golf course is really a business. And if you cut one hole out of the game, well, guess what? As a golfer, I'm going to go to some other golf course where I can get the value for my money and play that additional hole, or play the full 18 holes, rather than paying the same amount of money. And guess what? I can't play because we're worried about a errant shot escaping the onto a neighboring property, and I can't get full value out of my, $100 plus cart to play the game. And so that's part of the weighing exercise that a court takes into account. You talk about the test, the first part of the test, the serious issue to be tried, and that's the standard go-to test on an injunction, and that comes out of UK case law and then adopted into Canada in a very famous decision called RJR McDonald. But even in injunctions, a party seeking an injunction where they're trying to force somebody to do something, to mandate what they should do, that's actually a higher test. You actually need to, it's not a serious issue to be tried. It's whether you will actually win at the end of the day, right? Whether you're going to succeed. It's that test is the prima facie case test. And so that makes it very difficult when you're seeking an injunction. But it comes down to the balancing when you talk about the number of golf balls that are flying into somebody else's home. Your uncle is getting 100 balls. I hope they're not all on his property. Maybe they're down in a ravine. But
well, I like to say that they're golf balls that have lost their sense of direction, so they're probably not particularly good for someone like me. I need the ones that are flying in the right direction, because mine all tend to go in the wrong direction. But the notion of the harm is pretty important, I think, when we talk about the court exercising what is an incredible power of injunctive relief. Is if the harm that the order creates is more than the harm that the order prevents, it shouldn't be issued. And that is, I think, fundamentally what these golf course cases kind of illustrate as a concept that applies across the board to injunctive relief and the court's willingness to exercise that power. As I say, if the harm in the Wasaga case to the business of the golf course was seen by the court to be more substantial than the harm that the order would have prevented by shutting it down.
Yeah, for sure. In the Islington case, look, if you got a private member club, people are paying a fee for that. But when you have a public course who is much more reliant on people buying golf games, right, on a regular basis, shutting down a hole is going to have a very, very significant impact on that kind of a business. And because they occupy so much land, golf courses, are required to pay property taxes like anybody else. And those property taxes aren't necessarily cheap. And it's a business. They have employees. You shut down a golf course, you're putting people out of work. Or shutting down a hole that, causes the business to lose money. So those are very important considerations that have to be kept in mind by a court in these kinds of cases. And, like we talk about it, our justice system is pretty good. We may hem and haw at times, why did the judge make this decision? We don't like that decision. We think the decision is wrong. But overall, at the end of the day, there are more decisions that get it right than decisions that get it wrong.
Absolutely. And again, we come back to the point, and we see in all of our episodes, that the administration of justice, you are right, they do get it right far more than they get it wrong. And the system, as a result of that, has a confidence of citizens, and that ultimately is a big part of our social contract, particularly in a Western democratic state like Canada, that allows us to have the type of society that we live in. And it's really a credit to the justice system that it continues to inspire that kind of public confidence.
Yeah, and look, the golf course thing is fun. Right, it's a lot of people participate in golf. They like to get outside and they like to socialize and, drink beer and other things while on
Maybe
the course.
Maybe that's why they hit so many off the golf course.
Well, that doesn't help. You see, you can improve your game already.
I think it's the Johnny Fever approach to golf. Maybe it will help.
WKRP in Cincinnati for those young listeners who
Look
don't
it up
know
on
who
YouTube.
Johnny
Greatest
Fever
episode
is.
ever.
But it's look, it's about a practical approach, right? It's about having common sense. So in terms of being a homeowner adjacent to a golf course, look, the common sense is you're going to take the risk, and maybe you should do some research before you buy that property that's adjacent to the golf course to know exactly what the risk of flying golf balls will be into your yard. if you don't like the fact that your Saturday afternoon barbecue is going to be interrupted by a flying golf ball, while you're flipping a burger, because it happens so often, don't buy a house adjacent to a golf course. On the opposite side, golf courses really need to pay attention in terms of course design. The game has changed quite a bit over the years. It's there's no longer wooden golf clubs. They've got some of these great shafts that really, whip your club as you're swinging and increase your speed so you can hit the ball 90 miles an hour or 100 miles an hour. Convert that to kilometers. I don't know. I'm sorry. I grew up in the mile per hour stage, era. But and golf balls are, designed now with a lot more technology. So older designed golf courses really need to keep up with technological changes, because what once may never have happened with a new golf ball or new golf clubs may happen more and more regularly.
Right. You're making terrible golfers like me even more lethal, because we can exponentially increase the distance that we can shoot the ball in the wrong direction. Anyways, a very, very interesting and fun discussion today about golf on our third episode of our podcast. I'd like to thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate any comments that you can give us, any suggestions, either how we can make this more fun and entertaining and informative, and or for topics. If you're interested in a particular legal issue and you'd like to have us delve into it and discuss it, please give us suggestions. We're always open to it. We very much appreciate any feedback that you can give. Again, my friend Stephen Teal, thank you for your insights, and always a pleasure to talk to you about any issue, but particularly these legal issues. And as we're fond of saying, if nobody is above the law, then everyone is beneath it. Thanks again for joining us.